The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.
The number of asylum seekers from Georgia to EU member states increased by 81% in 2022 compared to the previous year. In total, 26,450 applications for asylum were submitted last year. 7% of the submitted applications were satisfied, while the figure stood at 5% in 2021. As for Georgian citizens who are illegally staying in EU countries, their number increased by 87%, or 11,695, amounting to 21,910 in 2022. In January-September 2023, the exports of Georgia, excluding non-declared exports, equaled 4.6 million USD, 12.7% higher year-on-year. Share of the domestic exports in total exports constituted 47.2% and amounting to USD 2.1 million, 22.5% lower to the same period of 2022, Geostat reported. Natia Turnava, acting president of the National Bank, has said that active collaboration with the International Monetary Fund is underway and there is a strong commitment from the IMF to expedite the restoration of the program. In a meeting held last week with the heads of the IMF, discussions centered on resuming the suspended program. The Georgian parliament failed to impeach President Salome Zurabishvili with 86 in favor and 1 against. The parliament needed the support of 100 MPs to pass the impeachment. The Georgian parliament discussed President Salome Zurabishvili's impeachment on October 18, after the Constitutional Court on October 16 ruled that the president violated the constitution when traveling abroad for meetings with EU leadership without the government's authorization. This is The Checkpoints. I'm Elena Gvangelashvili, author and the host of the show, and the Checkpoints team is ready to sum up Business and Economics Week for you. The World Bank has launched the Systematic Country Diagnostic SCD update for Georgia. The report, titled Georgia Keeping the Reform Momentum, provides a comprehensive analysis of development challenges and opportunities for the country to accelerate progress in poverty reduction and shared prosperity in a sustainable way. The SCD update suggests clear priorities for Georgia: strengthening the quality of education, improving land use, adaptation to climate change, and building resilience to shocks. Other important areas include increasing labor force participation, boosting access to finance, digitalization, innovation, investing in energy efficiency, supporting renewable energy development, and improving the enforcement and predictability of laws and regulations. Georgia has a solid foundation but needs to step up reforms in order to achieve inclusive and sustainable growth in the face of global trends such as the climate transition or digitalization and automation, said Roland Price, World Bank Regional Director for the South Caucasus. Attention to the priorities identified in the SCD update can help the country to stay on a strong growth trajectory while creating better opportunities for all. According to the report, Georgia has demonstrated resilience amid a rapidly changing external environment, partly due to sound macroeconomic management. However, the SCD points out that poverty reduction has decelerated in recent years and the country faces challenges in creating high-quality jobs. Firm-level data analysis conducted shows that total factor productivity at the firm level has been flat, possibly hindering employment opportunities. Georgia has a long track record of implementing broad economic and governance reforms to maintain macroeconomic stability, streamline its business environment and strengthen public finances, said Lasha Kutishvili, Minister of Finance of Georgia. The government of Georgia is committed to implementing further reforms to achieve our ambitious goals, advancing climate and energy, sustainable economic development, and good governance. The report highlights that Georgia has experienced natural capital degradation, partly driven by lack of sustainable agricultural practices and inefficient land use, and has so far been unable to decouple carbon emissions from economic growth. The SCD update has been prepared following consultations with the government officials as well as the representatives of the private sector, development partners, civil society organizations, and academia. The previous SCD, published in 2018, entitled Georgia from Reformer to Performer, laid the foundation for understanding Georgia's economic growth and inclusion challenges. The 2023 SCD update builds upon this foundation and addresses the rapidly changing megatrends that require increased focus on resilience. It was conducted upstream of the Country Partnership Framework, SPF, which is a framework used by the World Bank to engage with member countries and support their development goals. The updated CPF for Georgia will be launched in 2024.
Today we're launching the Systematic Country Diagnostic for Georgia. It's a flagship report for the World Bank that we do in each and every one of the countries. This piece of analysis allows us to determine what are the constraints and opportunity for accelerating poverty reduction and boosting shared prosperity. That is the income growth of the bottom 40% of the population. The outcomes from this report and the findings will help the World Bank focus in particular areas of our program. And it essentially gives us 10 policy areas of focus and high-level outcomes that we should aim for in our engagement with the government of Georgia. When you focus on challenges in this instance, one thing I would want to say is that relative to other countries in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, Georgia is growing very well and has done this consistently. It has been able to weather a number of shocks and setbacks like COVID-19, among others. But we realize that Georgia is still having a huge challenge creating quality jobs for the population. And this is going to be a significant hindrance to accelerating economic growth for the country. Decent jobs, jobs that are going to be paying well, jobs that are typically, allowing persons to make a good living and to be able to support their families and have, good livelihood. That's what we're looking for principally. In terms of fighting poverty, this is something that we're looking at across the board. One of the key elements that we're working on is actually improving the quality of education. This is something that the World Bank is principally involved in. We have a very large program on human capital development. We believe that the education outcomes right now are not where they could be improved. But more importantly, at the secondary and tertiary level, persons exiting university or exiting vocational training are not necessarily having the skills that the market is demanding. And so having those training programs be more market relevant will enable persons to be better equipped, to have better paying jobs, and therefore to have more decent wages.
On October 12, the British Embassy Tbilisi and partners hosted the UK-Georgian FinTech Forum. The forum brought together the UK and Georgia FinTech community with an aim to share experiences and forge new connections between like-minded visionaries. Kenan Poleo, Trade Commissioner in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, paid first working visit to Georgia. During the visit, he also had the opportunity to meet with the members of the Business Association of Georgia. The roundtable discussion with BAG members was an excellent opportunity to engage directly with some of the most prominent Georgian businesses, talk about UK-Georgia's trade cooperation and promote UK's interest to export to Georgia and beyond, Poleo said. As of the 1st September 2021, Mr. Kenan Poleo has been appointed Consul General and Trade Commissioner for Eastern Europe and Central Asia. Prior to being appointed to Istanbul, Kenan Poleo was Her Majesty's Deputy Trade Commissioner for Europe, based in Berlin, Germany. His previous roles include Head of Global at Innovate UK, supporting business-led innovation and international collaboration, and Regional Director for the UK Science and Innovation Network for Europe, Russia and Turkey at the FCDO, also based at the British Embassy in Berlin. He held numerous senior positions across the UK government, including Deputy Director of EU Energy and Environmental Legislation, Deputy Director UK Manufacturing Strategy, and Assistant Director Chemicals Industry and Civil Contingencies. He was posted to Slovenia as a national expert during the EU presidency, working on energy and climate change. Prior to working for the UK government, Kennan was a practitioner and then manager in NHS, commissioning services around sexual health, HIV/AIDS, refugee and homelessness health, and the health needs of people from Black and minority ethnic communities. He studied African and East Mediterranean history at Birmingham University, followed by an MA in Turkish Studies at London University. Kenan Polo, Trade Commissioner in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, sat down for the interview with the checkpoints. Mr. Kenan, thank you for being with us and taking my questions. Let us start with the purpose of your visit in Tbilisi.
Thank you so much for inviting me here today. And this is my first time to Georgia, my first time to Tbilisi as Trade Commissioner for the region. And my primary aim here is to connect and support UK businesses and UK capabilities with Georgian businesses and capabilities here to grow both of our economies together positively and productively. So I was here specifically for a FinTech forum, which is the second one that we've held working in Georgia, the UK-Georgia FinTech gathering, which is a really important part of our economy and your economy, where we can grow together.
Are you satisfied with the trade numbers that you're looking between the UK and Georgia?
I mean, I'm really pleased because our trade has doubled in the past year between UK and Georgia. So it's just under £500 million now, but it's not actually about the numbers themselves. It's about the direction that they're going. So my trip here has really helped me understand that there are so many opportunities that we can work with Georgian businesses and the Georgian government here to really grow that trade relationship between UK exporters and Georgian importers, and then vice versa from UK importers and Georgian exporters.
So what are some of the sectors where you see that this potential lies? And I looked through your biography, did my homework there, and I saw that you have a vast experience in two very important directions that Georgia's economy has. That's the innovation on the one part and energy on the other. Do you see in those particular two sectors the potential of more cooperation between UK and Georgia?
100%. I mean, I think we've already got really strong relationships in areas like cars and food, but it's in energy that you can see a huge potential to kind of bring together the journey that we're all going on in moving towards net zero to a kind of a low carbon or no carbon economy. And so really fascinating to meet with businesses here, but also government around their plans to transition and how we can work with the Georgian government and businesses around that. Equally on innovation, I mean, everything that we should be doing is looking to see how we can maximize profit and potential from all that we're doing in a whole range of sectors. And I think there's a great opportunity for Georgia to leapfrog when it comes to things like fintech and financial services. We, of course, have an amazing history in the UK around financial services. But seeing the ecosystem here and seeing the potential and seeing how you've got such creative founders here that are looking to go not just in this market and not just in Europe, but go global. So bringing together those innovators, those entrepreneurs and founders with UK capability, I think, shows that we can both work together and go truly global.
What could accelerate the pace of these relations, and where do you see currently the main challenges?
I think what accelerates it is the potential to bring people together. And so yesterday's event was a great example of that. But having open dialogue and being really aware of the offers and the potential that's here in Georgia, but also where there could be a corresponding capability in the UK as well. So I know that there's a massive focus here on rail and network and the middle corridor, and that really is an opportunity to connect with UK capability around transport, movement of goods, a whole range of areas where Georgia could innovate and be world leading in some of its new products and services.
So would you say that this whole buzz about the middle corridor and it gaining this momentum is the middle corridor a bankable project for you?
I mean, I think the middle corridor addresses an issue that we're all really concerned about and interested in, which is around security of supply and security of supply chains. And all of us experienced those shocks that happened, not just with the war in Ukraine, but also with what happened with COVID as well, when all of a sudden supply chains were completely disruptive. So I think everybody is taking really seriously what you can do to bring in resilience into the movement of goods. And I think the middle corridor is a really compelling offer. And I think we're really interested in working closely with Georgia and other countries around what that could look like and how we could be part of that conversation in securing resilience and security of supply of products.
Do you see that uncertainty decreasing that was brought by COVID, and are we finally in post-COVID period? How would you say that?
I think so. And I think one of the things that's really worth remembering is that business and trade always finds a way, like love. It finds a way to move, and goods will always find ways
like
to move. Well, exactly. So I think the more that we can do to prepare ourselves for any future shocks that could be there, we simply don't know what's around the corner. So the more resilient and the more prepared we are, and the more connected we are to partners like Georgia, for us, is a hugely important partner and friend, and geopolitically a significant country. So for us, working closely with Georgia is an absolute no-brainer.
Was it easier to work with Georgia and have these relations with Georgia when UK was part of the EU?
I can honestly
what
say,
has changed since Brexit?
I mean, what's changed since Brexit is that we are now looking upwards and outwards beyond Europe in a really robust way. So since I've been in this role, and since we've left the European Union, we are taking forward really serious and exciting conversations with countries like Georgia, where we've put forward a new FTA, a free trade agreement, continuity rollover. We're continuing to have conversations with Georgia around how we can strengthen elements of that. I mean, our trade has grown, and the UK economy has grown as well since we've left the European Union. And I think financial services, which is what I'm here to talk about over the past couple of days here in Georgia, is a real example of that. That's an area that we had strength in, and we continue to have strength in, irrespective of us leaving the European Union.
Do you support Georgia's aspirations towards becoming a part of the European Union and the candidate status that it is striving for?
Absolutely support Georgia on that journey as well. We have left the European Union, but we have not left.
We cannot probably compare UK and Georgia in that, because challenges here in this part of the world, with Russia being the neighbor, of course, probably are really different.
I really don't know about the details of that particular issue, but we would support Georgia working closely with the European Union, because the European Union is also our friends and allies as well. Our number key trading partners are in the European Union. And so we've left the European Union, we haven't left Europe, and we want countries like Georgia, who share many of our values and our approaches, to grow and be prosperous with that approach to openness, fairness, in regulatory excellence that we've seen across many countries in the world.
What type of factor is Russia to the global economy, looking at these international sanctions? And would you say that these international sanctions, including Great Britain's sanctions, are working?
So the sanctions that we have implemented against Russia, against the war machine in Russia, and it's really driven by that horrendous invasion of Ukraine by Russia, which was totally unprovoked, I think have had an impact. And certainly the Russian government has said that they have made things much harder for them. So we will continue to support our sanctions regime and work with partners around the world to bring that to fruition. But having said that, we're all, the UK is still working with partners like Georgia, working with other countries to make sure that we provide resilience, that we look at supply chains, and that we make sure that we celebrate those countries that are open, fair, and democratic.
How do you see Georgia's action in the direction of international sanctions? And I'm asking you because of probably you were looking about these current events with National Bank of Georgia and then the IMF statement that they see the changed approach of NBG towards international sanctions. What is your overall impression of how Georgia is doing? Do you see Georgia as your ally in sanctioning Russia?
Absolutely. So we take sanctions really seriously. We also take our relationship with Georgia really seriously. So where there is a misunderstanding or a disagreement or a difference of approach, we will continue to have conversations with Georgia around that. Our ambition with the sanctions is to end the Russian war machine. It is not in any way, shape or form to impact on the prosperity and the growth of Georgia's economy.
We already mentioned Georgia's geopolitical location in terms of the Middle Corridor. At this point in time, and looking at the region, looking at the war in Ukraine, Nagorno-Karabakh, more broadly now looking at this horrendous war in Israel, I mean, how does this location work for Georgia's investment climate in general? What do investors see? Do they see more challenges or more opportunities?
So I think all of those things that you've outlined now are absolute tragedies and horrific, and the horrific incidences that we've seen in Israel as well, and how people have suffered, and also the shocks around what's happened in Nagorno-Karabakh as well. It adds to the weight that is on all of our responsibilities and how we can support people and countries through such horrible and terrible times, including the horror that is the war and the invasion of Ukraine by Russia. And one of the ways in which we continue to that is to have that dialogue with countries like Georgia and the UK and make it clear and understood that there is importance to build trusted relationships with countries like Georgia, and that means practically businesses building trust with each other as well to go forward and develop those joint ventures together. So I think that all of the horrors that you've identified are real, but they should not prevent us working closely with a key friend and ally for mutual prosperity.
So for how long are you staying in Georgia? What are your first impressions of Tbilisi? Did you get to move around a little bit? And what are some of the expectations of coming days during this forum or conference?
So sadly, I have to go back to my base in Istanbul, where I'm the Consul General there as well as the Trade Commissioner on Sunday. My impressions of Georgia, the people of Georgia, the businesses here, the beauty of this city is second to none. I have been totally overwhelmed and overawed. And so over the next day, before I head back, I'm going to be exploring this city as much as I possibly can. I'm already a big fan of Hajdapuri. So I'm looking forward to coming back and seeing how the conversations that I've had and the team here have had who work in the embassy here on trade, economic growth and prosperity have actually delivered something tangible in moving our relationship closer together.
Maybe we can meet during that visit as well and sum up what were some of the tangible results that your first visit in Tbilisi has brought to the table. Thank you so much for taking my questions.
Thank you very much.
And now straight off to Natia Taktakishvili, who will sum up this week's business news and outlook for you. Next Group, a leading investment and development company based in Georgia, announces its upcoming hospitality project in Dubai on the first coastline of Dubai Islands in partnership with master developer Nakheel. Dubai Island, consisting of 5 islands spanning over 17 square kilometers, will provide unique living experience for residents and tourists. It features more than 80 resorts and hotels, 20 kilometers of beaches, parks and open spaces, and premium golf courses overlooking the Arabian Gulf. The islands, connected by roads and bridges, are easily accessible by land and sea. Dubai Islands will boast a coastline with a 21-kilometer new beachfront, including a Blue Flag certified beach. Next Group is excited about the opportunities that come with investing in Dubai, and more details about the project will be announced late in 2023. Next Group is the only Georgian real estate developer offering outstanding 5-star branded residence in collaboration with international hotel brands Radisson Hotel Group and Wyndham Hotel and Resorts. Kazland Hotel will be opened in June 2024 in Talca near the Dashbash Canyon. Ekaterina Tordia, the general director of Kaz Group, told TV program Women's Narrative. The construction of the hotel started 6 months ago and will be completed in June 2024. The hotel will have 35 rooms. In addition, there will be 3 luxury rooms with different views. A conference hall will be located in the hotel and an aqua park will be built, said Ekaterina Tordia. The cost of accommodation in the hotel for a day will be about $150. In 2022, the Israeli company Kazland officially opened the infrastructure and glass bridge on Talca Canyon in the protected area of Georgia. The ecotourist space, worth $120 million, includes a 240-meter-long glass bridge, a restaurant, a zip line, a bicycle lane, and 62 wheelers. Georgian Sun appeared on the market in 2018 as a sub-brand of Vazisubani Estate. As its scaled sales director, Georgi Okroashvili, explains to BMWG, the company produces experimental wines under this name. Vazisubani Estate produces both quarry wines as well as the so-called classic European wines. We have also released experimental wines, blends, and coupages under the brand Georgian Sun. I can single out Katsiteli Tsuane blend, which is one of the top-selling wine among our products. It's sold in large quantities and customers like it very much, says Georgi Okroashvili. Georgian Sun wines can be found both in Georgian and foreign markets. The company exports its products to 20 countries, including America, Europe, Asia. As Okroashvili declares, 50,000 bottles are sold abroad under the name of Georgian Sun, while 25,000 bottles are sold on the local market. We wanted the price of Georgian Sun to be more democratic in the local market. In the case of Vazisubani Estate, we are focused on premium segment and the price is relatively high, especially for quarry wines. That's why we wanted to make the same quality wine more affordable for customers. The selling price ranges from 12 lari to 20 lari, says Georgi Okroashvili. Speaking about future plans, the sales director of Georgian Sun notes that the company is developing every year in the direction of export and plans to release new types of experimental wines in the future.
Mariam Koyawa, the founder of a natural juice producing company Mysi, declares that the products will appear on the American market next year. We will focus on exports from the next year. We have selected 3 exporting markets, one of which will be America, Mariam Koyawa noted. Preparations for exports have already started. At the first stage, first batch of Mysi juices will be sent to America, and according to the company, their supply would be stable. One of the European countries will be definitely included among 3 exporting markets, and we are all observing the Emirates, Koyawa says. Mysi produces 8 types of juices, and it's currently operating at 45% capacity, which means the production of approximately 2.5 million bottles per year. Natural juices producing company Mysi appeared about 2 years ago. It was established in Natakhtari with an investment of $3,002,000 lari. Ani Alibegashvili, the founder of Stepping Kazbeki, talks to BMDG about the challenges for the tourist sector in the region and notes that part of the infrastructure is still a challenge for tourists, including water supply and roads. Works on infrastructure projects in Kazbeki never end. Roads are being built. A water project is being developed. That's a very painful part for Kazbeki. Despite so many years and such large tourist flows, the water problem remains unsolved, and the region is supplied according to the schedule. It's very difficult to explain to the guests and businesses. There are important works to be done in Kazbeki to ensure guest satisfaction. In the last 2 years, in fact, it has become impossible for guests to walk through the streets, says Ani Alibegashvili. According to her, the summer season of the current year was satisfactory for the hotel, but they had better results last year. There was a decrease in flows, especially among European visitors. Moreover, mountain resorts had problems this year, especially after Showi tragedy. Even the number of incoming calls has decreased about 80%, says the founder of Stepping Kazbeki. Georgian fruit and vegetable drinks Getilida Patiosani is expanding its exporting market. It has been a month since the company exported its products on the French market. As the company's marketing manager Nino Basharouli told BMDG, Getilida Patiosani is sold in Bordeaux. It has been a month since we entered French market. Our products are sold in Bordeaux. We have been exporting to New York for 6 months, she says. The representative of the company also talks about the new brand Poporelli, which produces traditional Georgian sauces and dressings. Poporelli is a brand of traditional Georgian sauces and dressings. In general, our enterprise can produce 1 million bottles if there is a demand. Georgian market is saturated with imported products, so it's difficult for us to establish ourselves in the local chains, explains the marketing manager of Getili and Patiosani. Getilida Patiosani and Poporelli are brands of the fruit and vegetable processing company Georgian Agro Product. Getilida Patiosani produces a mix of 8 different types of fruits, which are made exclusively from Georgian raw materials. 30% of the products is sold in the local market, and the remaining 70% is exported. Space Farms increased production. Tusa Garibashvili, the founder of Space Farms, spoke about this on the air of Women's Narrative. Now we have already moved to a new stage as we have increased production and our products will be sold in various facilities. We will work on this for the next 2 months. We are focused on growing products that aren't available in Georgia. In many cases, they are imported from abroad. Such unique plants as sage, green basil, Thai basil are already available to our customers even in winter, said Tusa Garibashvili. Space Farms is located on the area of 150 square meters. However, as the farm is vertical, the total area is 7 times more. Space Farms receive a total of 500 kilograms of lettuce, and we produce up to 50 kilograms of microgreens per month, says Tusa Garibashvili. Tusa Garibashvili created the first vertical greenhouse in 2019, which provides consumers with ecologically clean vegetables and herbs. In the farm, solar energy is implemented by LED lightings. Development company Biograph Living announces the second large-scale project. Vasil Khakadze, executive director of Biograph Living, and David Asanidze, head of design development department at Biograph Living, talked about this in TV program Business Morning. Project Matiani will be built in Dube, one of the city's central avenues. Akaki Tsereteli, it will be a multifunctional residential complex that will combine residential, office and commercial spaces. We will have a 25-meter swimming pool, spa, fitness and etc., noted the executive director of the company. Speaking about the commercial premises, David Asanidze explains that the premises remain in the ownership of the company and are not sold. We give the commercial space under the lease, so we remain a kind of control over which brands will be part of our project. At the initial stage, we already have several contracts with the following companies: Octopus, Paul, Skajus and Gastronome. We are trying to attract as many brands as possible and make them part of our ecosystem, added the head of Design Development Department. There of the 31-story complex is 60,000 square meters. Customers will be able to live in the complex from 2026. At this stage, Biograph Living is selling a green frame. However, it's planned to offer the customers the option of renovated apartments as well.
Wizz Air in Georgia, trends, tendencies, challenges and opportunities. All of these accents have been summarized by George Molodinashvili in the interview with Andras Rado, Corporate Communications Manager of Wizz Air.
Andras, welcome to Aviation Talks, and I'm really pleased to host you here today.
Thank you for having me.
As the summer season of 2023 is about to finish, I would like to ask you to summarize and analyze how productive was it for Wizz Air, and also if you have fully recovered and achieved 2019 level in terms of revenue.
So 2023 summer was fantastic. I have to say it briefly. And if I want to expand more on that, it means that 2021, 2022 were very difficult years for all of us in the aviation industry. It was difficult for Wizz Air as well. Although we recovered already in 2021 and we outperformed other market players and the average market growth, we still had difficulties because the industry, the airports, air traffic control weren't really prepared for new traffic and rebouncing traffic. What we saw in the past few years, and that we saw this summer as well, that people really wanted to travel. Don't forget that 2023 summer was a real first after COVID summer. So last summer there were still some regulations here and there, but this year everything was free. People were happy to travel. We operated this summer already 170% of our pre-COVID capacity. We flew over 17.5 million passengers in the peak seasons of June, July and August. We were very successful in Georgia as well. We're very happy. We just celebrated together with our strategic partner, Kutaisi Airport, the 1 millionth passenger.
We talk about that topic a bit later, but while we are talking about summer season 2023, I'd like to ask you about new markets that you entered in during this season, and also I'm curious, how did airline grow during this season?
So we keep receiving brand new aircraft from Airbus. We have an order of over 300 brand new aircraft, which means that we keep receiving 20 to 40 aircraft every year, and that's how we grew our fleet and that's how we expand. Returning a bit to the previous question about how we did this summer, we stabilized our operations. So we made sure that we do not cancel flights. That is the very last resort. We try to fly every single flight, and that was a huge development compared to last year. Because, for example, in Georgia, we decreased our cancellation rate by 80%, which means that during 3 months of June, July, and August, we had to cancel only 3 flights. And some of those were not because of our inability to fly, but for example, weather reasons. We all know that there was a huge thunderstorm, like tropical storm, which put Kutaisi Airport unfortunately underwater. So we tried to stabilize our operations. We didn't go into too many new markets. We tried to stabilize our operations in the countries where we were already present. That, having said, that also was applicable to Georgia, it was applicable to Italy, to the United Kingdom, to Hungary, to Romania. So I can go on in our bigger markets. And I think we did a great job doing that, because our numbers prove that we could improve, we could develop. In Georgia, we flew twice as much, almost twice as much as we did last year. And despite these huge growth, we could decrease cancellations, and we could really stabilize our operations. And this is important. Sorry, just one more thought. This is very important, because our promise to our passengers is that we fly them from A to B safely and on time. We don't like cancellations. We actually hate cancellations, because it's bad for us, and of course it's bad for the passengers.
Yeah, I do remember doing previous interviews with your colleagues, with Mr. Varadi. Also, we discussed the challenges that you had with regard to delays, particularly caused because of shortage of personnel at different airports, and also shortage of personnel at handling companies, and etc., etc. As I can see, that problem is almost over. Am I right?
Yes, you're absolutely right. Some of the problems are gone. So I'm happy to say that airports have stepped up. Kutaisi Airport within that did a magnificent job, really. We were very happy with our operations. Our ground handling partners also had enough people. There are some problems which stayed with us. One is European air traffic control shortage. It's been dragging on, and as airlines develop themselves over the past years and decades, this air traffic control infrastructure didn't really keep up with the pace of the airline development, and there are very few or not enough air traffic controllers, which always causes bottlenecks. Then we have the war, which affects the airspace close to Ukraine in the Eastern European airspace, because a lot of traffic that we're going through these war-torn countries are now diverting and detouring or rerouting through our market, which means that creates another bottleneck of air traffic control and congested airfields. And there is another issue, which is the supply chain issue, which again affects all of the airlines, not only Wizz Air. We tried to stack up of spare parts. We tried to do everything what was possible to make sure that we have enough spare parts. So we ordered a lot of stuff in advance to make sure that technical restrictions will not cause cancellations.
Interesting, a very interesting development, and you're doing a great job in order to provide a proper service to your passengers. You operate in Europe as well as in the Middle East, and you recently opened new bases, new airlines in Abu Dhabi and elsewhere. But let me ask you, where do you see faster and bigger growth in traffic, in Europe or in the Gulf states?
We see a huge development and huge interest in flying in all of our markets, basically. It would be hard to say which one is more, in which market we face more interest or demand. In the Gulf region, so in Saudi Arabia, in Abu Dhabi, we face a lot of interest because this low-cost airline phenomenon is still unknown to those markets, and we provide a high-quality service for much lower fares than any of our competitors in the region. So that's why people enjoy flying with us, and they enjoy experiencing and exploring new cultures, and they fly into Europe or they fly within the Gulf states. And as for Europe, and as for even Eastern Europe and Central and Eastern Europe, there's more disposable income building up among the people, and that's why they fly more and more. We sense a bit of change in travel patterns, so we see more leisure routes and more interest in leisure routes than VFR, what we call visiting friends and relatives. So it's basically people visiting their friends or going back and forth between their home country and the country they live in and work in. So we see a demand in all of our markets, really.
I totally agree with you, and there's abnormal demand indeed in different markets in the Middle East, in Europe, but also we see a tremendous increase of the ticket price. What do you think? Will it hurt the development of the passenger operation in the short term?
I don't think that ticket prices or the growth of ticket prices has a negative effect on growth opportunities. Actually, we see a lot of demand. We carried a lot of passengers, over 17.5 million passengers this year, which was a record so far. I think the only bottleneck is how many aircraft we get. The biggest bottleneck. I mean, we couldn't put enough aircraft into operation if we wanted to follow the demand. So we will always have less aircraft than we could sell because of our model, because of our pricing, because of our attractive routes.
I know that you have quite a big number of orders put to Airbus, which is your main supplier of the aircraft that you are operating. But if we look at the whole market, that there is quite big demand of capacity due to demand coming from the passengers. To be precise, what is the current situation at Wizz Air to tackle this problem?
We're trying to receive as many aircraft as we can. So we keep on receiving Airbus continuously, basically several brand new aircraft every month. And we are putting it to markets where there's a bigger need for flying, wherever we see that we can develop, wherever we can see that we can bring low-cost airlines and low-cost offering to the market.
Recently, the CEO of one of major low-cost airline in Europe started complaining about unfair preferences given to the legacy carriers within the European Union. Does this concern also Wizz Air in terms of preferences that is given to the legacy carriers and in terms of unfair competition within EU?
We try to concentrate on our own business and we try to develop our own business. We try to offer more and more flights in all of our countries, including Georgia as well. We've already announced the 4th aircraft, which will join the Georgian fleet in December with the new route and with frequency updates. On the other hand, I have to say that yes, these government subsidies distort the market in many ways. Just look at maybe Germany, just look at Italy, just look at France, where the state subsidizes in all kinds of different ways the local carriers. It's not necessarily the fairest competition because these states don't let the market decide what the market wants. So we try to concentrate on our business, as I said, and we keep looking at how the legacy airlines are being subsidized.
Yeah, let's be honest, many legacy carriers have been rescued by their governments due to pandemic crisis. And well, maybe on the one hand it's fair, but on the other hand it may not be fair, as you rightly said, that the market must regulate this process. Let's come back to Georgia. Recently, Kutaisi Airport proudly celebrated 1 million passenger, which is a great result. How important is this achievement for Wizz Air?
This is a fantastic achievement, and it's a fantastic achievement of a fantastic cooperation with Kutaisi Airport. So we've been flying here for many, many years. Our relationship with the airport has always been fantastic. And it's great to come back every time for me to Georgia and see the development of the airport, to see the development of the Georgian tourism and the Georgian economy. So it's a reassurance for us that we're doing the right thing. It's a reassurance for us that we can look at Kutaisi Airport and Georgia as a strategical partner. It's a reassurance that we can think of a long-term relationship between Georgia, the airport, and Wizz Air. So we're keen on developing our network. We are keen on adding new routes, bring new aircraft, and show Georgia to the rest of the world, and of course provide Georgians a lot of opportunities to discover the rest of Europe and the Middle East.
Absolutely, I have to admit that if not Wizz Air operation at Kutaisi Airport, that result wouldn't be possible in that very short time when the airport achieved it. And this is really phenomenal cooperation between Wizz Air and Kutaisi, and my congratulations as well to you that you achieved this result together. In December, you are adding 4th aircraft to your base and you are enlarging the space. Beside the Lisbon route that was recently announced, what will be the new routes that will be added with adding a new aircraft to the base?
We will start Copenhagen on the 16th of December as a new route, and we have frequency updates on many other routes. And this is coming back to the previous thought that we're trying to stabilize and mature our operations, and we're trying to put more capacity on the routes which are more popular. So we're trying to serve the market needs. We are responding to the requests and the needs of and the demand of passengers to make sure that they have more flights to the cities where they frequently travel.
Yeah, I'm sure that particularly Georgian passengers are waiting for the new route to take from Kutaisi Airport, and adding 4th aircraft to the base. It's also a great achievement, and I'm looking forward to see that 4th aircraft at the airport. I will not breach the tradition of asking this question, and I have to ask you as well. So when can we expect Wizz Air Georgia operating in the country?
Well, first of all, or for the time being, we operate with our Hungary flight, but we keep on adding new employees and hiring new employees within Georgia. So this new aircraft will also mean an additional 40, more or less 40 new Wizz Air employees within Georgia, hopefully Georgian pilots and hopefully Georgian cabin crew members, all employed by employment contract, paying taxes here, enjoying all the benefits of Wizz Air and of being employed by Wizz. I will answer your question about Wizz Air Georgia in due course, but for now we are really concentrated on hiring new people and providing more opportunities to locals.
I hope that Wizz Air will keep the promise that this airline will set up a local company as well, and we will see it someday, Wizz Air Georgia operating, and we all are very much look forward to that.
And before we say goodbye, I would like to remind you of a very important visit this week. It took place in Ukraine between the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelensky, and the U.S. Special Representative for the Reconstruction of Ukraine, Penny Pritzker. The U.S. Special Representative for the Reconstruction of Ukraine says she has begun working with the Ukrainian government to support the opening of export markets, the mobilization of foreign direct investment, and the acceleration of the country's economic recovery. Penny Pritzker added in comments to journalists in Kyiv on October 16 that she is also coordinating efforts to establish donor priorities through the Interagency Donor Coordination Platform in Ukraine. She also pledged to continue to build relationships between key representatives of the U.S. investment sector, the Ukrainian government, and Ukrainian business leaders.
See you again. Good to see you. How are you? Very good. Very well. Thank you. Thank you for organizing today. Thank you for coming. Pleasure. You know where assistant President, and you also know where
Great.
Thank you.
Hello.
Thank you.
Good to see you.
Hello. Good to see you again. How are you?
Thank you. Welcome.
Our support of Ukraine is unwavering, and whether it's on the security side or the economic side, and I hope you know that. As President Biden, he actually recently said, we can't under any circumstances allow American support for Ukraine to be interrupted. So we're working on that, and even as recently as last night, he communicated with us that, make sure we get what we need from our government. So we're working very closely. It's complex, like everybody's government, but you need to know that. And obviously you've heard from Secretary Austin and Secretary Yellen and Secretary Blinken. So everybody wants to make sure you know our point of view has not changed. And I'm here because I'm committed to helping you with the economy. And so I'm looking forward to us having a conversation about that.
Thanks. Please pass this message to President Biden. We are very thankful for his support. White House administration, his team, and of course we are very thankful to bipartisan support to Congress. And I know that there are some challenges now in Congress, but I hope and thank you that you mentioned about it, that we can count on your support. It's important. I think your coming is also important, like a message to our people, because in Ukraine, after some challenges in Congress, there have been so many questions from people. It's not about that somebody has to give us support. It's about that during the war, these challenges, not good signals.
Yes.
That's important not to be alone.
Yes.
Yes, so thank you very much for this message, and again, your coming is also this message.
Right.
Yes, so it's very important. Thank you.
That's all for today. For more updates, please check us out on bm.g. We will meet next Sunday, 11 a.m. sharp.
The Checkpoints is presented by pharmaceutical company GM Pharma.